Unlimited live series. In fact, I think today we are having the 56th episode, right? And I once again I welcome you, right?
Thank you.
And as the people join, so Regal Unlimited offers comprehensive coaching and coach training programs aimed at unleashing the leader within people. So to get started, maybe I would like to introduce Mr. Debi. I think Debi is an accomplished human resource professional. He hates elaborate introductions. I'll just make it very short, Debi. So he has over 3 decades of experience in HR. He has held senior leadership roles in various corporate houses and is currently into people consulting and leadership coaching. Okay, Debbie, in fact, people consulting and leadership coaching, that itself is a good segue for us to get started. So can you quickly talk a little bit about your transition from as an HR leader, that too as a senior HR leader, and into people consulting and leadership coaching?
Yeah, so thanks, Sundar, for asking that. So I almost spent about 26 years in corporate, being CHRO in multiple Indian and multinational companies. And then I was wanting to do something very different in my life, and I was wanting to become an entrepreneur. So I started up with agriculture first, and unfortunately couldn't take it about a year, and I abandoned that project. Then I got into technology startup, and as that was going on, I got into coaching, and then I set up my own farm, which is purely on leadership development and coaching, so executive coaching.
Okay,
that's what I do.
Right. Okay. Good. So I think when you talk about multiple things, farming and see how this people consulting and leadership coaching go together.
Actually, see, when I left the corporate and I was wanting to do very different things, I never thought that I will come back into people consulting and be a HR advisor or something like that. So that was the last thing I wanted to do. But what happened is, after a couple of years, I was thinking, what is for me? Okay, what is the next thing that I do? What new skills I add on? And I realized that I always wanted to. So when I was in C8, we had an internal coach program. Okay, and I still remember when I went through a very tough time while appearing for the assessment, internally. So I always was intrigued, and I always used to see Dr. 𝗟𝗲𝗰𝗿𝗲, who was my manager. The way he used to apply the coaching techniques in day-to-day conversation. So I used to love that. So I said, hey, this is one area that I would like to really work on. And in 2017-18, I started doing my ACC, okay, International Coach Federation certification. And then 2018, I set up my company. So it's almost about 6th year that I am doing. I took really limited work, but I want to do something because this is not work for me. This is making a difference to people's life. So coaching and coach training, not coach training. I train corporate leaders for inculcating a coaching mindset, right? So that's what I do. And I do sometimes very high-end senior leadership facilitation. So that's how I restricted, and I say, hey, this is what is helping me. And believe me, going through the process of ACC, PCC, and now MCC, it's a personal transformation which happens, right? So you transform internally. I think that's the best part of this journey. Doesn't matter how much successfully professionally I use that, but it is worth going through.
Okay. So now, of course, as a CHRO of C8, right, and then moving away from that. So now, from your standpoint, I think since you are, I think you are an HR person, right, and also in a coach, you have all dealt with people, you have dealt with leaders, right? So, what do you think about the prominent approach towards leadership if the leader is behaving as a coach? How does that kind of impacts the organization, maybe?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question, Sundar. And if you ask me, when I did my SSC and then I started practicing coaching and my PCC, I actually thought that I should have done that a decade earlier. Okay.
Mm.
And that would, and primarily because that would have actually helped me grow my team. That would have actually helped me build lasting relationships. Okay. I think that's what exactly came to my mind. And there is a reason also. Look, what I'm observing now in many of these industries, including manufacturing, fintech, retail, huge amount of work pressure. Okay, and it's very competitive. And you would have seen some videos running in the market saying that, how toxic the reviews are, what kind
Okay.
of a culture people are going through.
Right.
And I think it's the time has come where people have to be told what is leadership about, right? So
Mm.
McGregor's theory X, I don't know, where you stick, you believe on the stick, and theory Y is believing on the carrot, incentivizing people. I
True.
think there is a beautiful way where you actually recognize people for their potential and help them to achieve their own targets. And that
Mm.
way, I think we would be doing a much better job than
Mm.
actually running with the morning and evening reviews. So I
Mm.
think that's where I think it's a huge change that this can bring into corporates,
Mm.
and it's a cultural shift. Don't look at it as an action. Okay,
Mm.
so
Mm.
basically the kind of culture that we are setting, it starts from the top and then goes to the bottom. And if the senior leadership develop a coaching mindset, that's going to go a long way within the organization.
Mm.
And it's purely about empowerment, right? You
Mm.
create space for people to be able to experiment, perform, or demonstrate their potential. I think those are things which is very important.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think great insight now, Debbie. In fact, I also know, do remember, I think maybe very old article written by Dr. Daniel Goleman, right? I think he very clearly talks about, I'm sure it's like 2 decades back, if my memory
Yeah,
is not right. So he talks about like six different styles where, he's talking about commanding, he's talking about pace setting, democratic, affiliative, so on and so forth. And he also mentions very clearly, what, if you want to build or develop people for the future, yeah, then I think leaders as coach or coaching leadership, right? I think that's a great way to go forward. So I'm just looking at it, developing the people for the future, right? And leaders or senior leaders, as you said, getting into the coaching mindset, right? So
yeah.
where do you see this going, Debbie, as we move
So,
forward?
it's a evolution, Sundar. Okay,
Mm.
so I remember one of the things I used to love about in the late 90s and early 2000, where
Mm.
G used to practice. They had a training center called in Crotonville, where
Right.
Jack Welch used to go and teach, and he always said that leaders must teach. Okay, and so whatever point of view you have developed over a period of time, it must go to the next generation. Now,
Mm.
coaching is a step beyond that. There, you are still telling the point of view, teaching the point of view to people. Here, you are actually creating a space and helping people to create their own point of views, okay,
Mm.
and allowing them to see what could best fit for a particular situation and for a particular person, right? So I think it's maturing, and I'm very positive, and I'm seeing a lot of companies today are focusing on the new leadership style, right? So look, I mean, it also have to be seen in the context of the business or the way industry follows. So
Mm.
we always look up to people who are high achievers, speed, aggression, timeline setting, deadline setting, creating large, huge, big goals, audacious goals, driving the team crazy to achieve that, and then celebrating. I
Mm.
think time has changed from that leadership to a leadership which is more empathetic, okay, it's more listening, caring, connecting, collaborating, empowering. So these are jargons which is, these are competencies which is becoming more and more important in today's scenario. And today you have a hugely evolved workforce, right? You have the Gen X, millennials, Gen Z, and all of them who want, they're very bright and they are very well informed, and they want to set the pace of what they are doing, right? So they say, well, we will decide how I need to work. You just need to be there as a resource person for me. Okay, that's the motive. That's the way they approach. So I think there is a huge amount of change which is happening in the leadership space. I think it's very important that leaders, the sooner they realize the change they need to incorporate, the better managers they would be, or the better leaders they would be. And I think there we have a role to play and say, okay, how do we really make sure that people adopt the coaching style? And that coaching style is really, really magical, in my view.
Absolutely, Debbie. In fact, great insight, right? So, in fact, for people who want to consider coaching practice in the future, I think leader as a coach is a good starting point, right? So I think that's what Regal is providing, and of course you are also involved as a part of it. Can you give little insight on those things, Debbie?
Yeah. So what happens is, I mean, we have done it for many organizations now. And the best part is when the CEOs and the C group of the organizations understand the whole concept. And many a times they offer to go through the programs first, then there is a huge benefit that the organization achieves. What we do is basically we just tell them what is coaching, right? A lot of people just simply understand that, because we are leaders, we know what is coaching, right? And they have their own theories to experiment. Now, the best part of International Coach Federation competencies is that it's a very well written few competencies, very well researched, which tells you what is that you need to practice. So we just take them through, we take them through what's not coaching. And believe me, that is the eye opener, right? They usually, the more, if you are a very successful leader, you are more in a tail mode, okay? So anybody who comes, oh, okay, come here, I will help you out. So you have suggestions for everything happening around the world, right? You would always, I don't know, Sundar, if you know, if you have marked, you go to a young IAS or IPS officer, a young collector or a young SP in your district. They're very young and they are so successful and they're so power. I mean, they sit in a huge power, right? They're running the district. They love to talk and they know they have a point of view on everything. So if you talk to them for 1 hour, 90 minutes, 55 minutes, they would speak, and 5 minutes you may get to speak. So exactly what happens. So the more successful the leader is, he's more on a prescriptive mode. I think that's what is important. So how do we tell them to stop and realize that the whole methodology need to change? Okay. First, try and connect to the person. Try and listen and understand what he is talking about. Try and listen what he is not talking about. Okay. And then allow saying that what is the best thing, because you are the person. What is the best thing that you can? What do you think that can happen? And then you can tell him and guide him or mentor him only when he or she needs to be mentored, right? So that approach itself, and what are those competencies? I say competencies. We take them, we orient them through that, and then we allow them to practice that and during the workshop through role plays and through coaching sessions and things like that. And believe me, what happens is, they would come in first to say that, oh, I want to change my guys. They don't understand what is leadership. They're very shy. They're not talking this, that, and all. And when by the 2 days it is, when they are going out, invariably they are much more quieter. And only thing that they say while going out is, oh my God, I have to really work on myself to really become a coach. So that's the transformation that happens in the process.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. See, fantastic, na, Debi. In fact, I have a first-hand experience of that, right? So when 90s, when we all started, we kind of started as a commanding leader. We called as now the first-time managers syndrome, right? When you are given a responsibility and given a team. But I think over a period of time, again, as you mature in the corporate, as you move up the ladder, it became from commanding to democratic, right? And fortunately, a decade back, I think our 𝗬𝗂𝗹𝗻 was fortunately she was a MCC, and she kind of trained many of the budding leaders, and we could see that drastic difference. And after that training, sincerely following that coaching approach, right? It took the team somewhere else, right? And we achieved the heights which we never imagined, right? So I am the first
True.
witness for that.
True. True.
Okay.
And I'm sure you would realize that the benefit that it offers to the organization. There are practicing organizations who are actually, so we just have another example where Subhash and me are working. And it's a large organization which the CEO first went through a coaching session, and he became SEC, and he realized the benefit that he is getting, and people also realized, wow, there is a huge change in him. And then he got the whole N-2, that his whole direct reports, to go through the program. And they also took up a few areas and few meetings where they said, okay, let's decide how do we want to behave, right? How do we want to create that environment? And it was very contextual, and it's so beautifully done. And I think it's offered a huge benefit to that company. So therefore, I think it's very important the moment leaders realize, it's a huge benefit that the companies derive. And by the way, HR and coaching, there has nothing to do, I mean, you might say that we have been dealing with people or we have done career counseling, but let me tell you, it has nothing to do with HR. Anybody can become, any leader can become a coach, right? In fact, they can be better coaches. I have seen CFOs becoming coach. I have seen manufacturing heads becoming coach. I have seen CEOs becoming coach. Everyone, every senior guy who has dealt with people can actually become a very good coach.
Coach. All right. See, that's a great insight, because somehow there is a myth that coaching is predominantly for the HR people, right? And there are a lot of people. In fact, now I did a lot of study before taking up coaching, and yes, I have seen quite a lot of potential, and we could see manufacturing people. Of course, I'm from operations, right? Taking up coaching right now, so there are so much of live examples. Okay, so now.
And also the vice versa is that, the HR guy shouldn't think that because I'm in HR, I'm a natural coach. No, I always say, look, you are a manager. That doesn't mean that you know how to interview. Interviewing is a skill, right? Similarly, coaching is an art. You just can't be a coach like that, saying that, oh, I'm a leader, I'm leading 500 people, so I know how to coach. No, coaching is very, very different, and you need to be a good coach. If you do not know coaching and you start coaching, then you are playing with the lives of people.
Absolutely. Okay. See, coaching is an art, that's a good segue, Debi. That's very rightly said. That's a good segue for me to ask the next question to you. Okay. So beyond leader as in a coach, now Regal as in a Regal, we focus on building an even a deeper coaching mindset, right? So coaching mindset is definitely deeper than a leader as a coach, right? So shifting your mindset, or shifting your consciousness, right? So how do you look at people shifting their consciousness in a very deeper level, especially for the leaders in the senior and mid level?
Yeah. In the interest of time, Sundar, when you are coaching, you are actually coaching yourself, right? You are actually coaching, you are developing yourself through somebody else, to the client, right? The client might benefit, but the coach definitely benefits. So therefore, the more you coach, you are actually reaching your deeper conscience. Okay, you are allowing that space, you are creating unconditional, you are using unconditional positive regard. So you are in your heart, in your mind, your subconscious, you are creating a space where you are able to coach. I think that's where you also deep within you touch yourself. I think that's the benefit that the coach. You ask any coach, the practicing coaches, and you will invariably hear that they are benefited by the process itself. And that's
Very
the
well,
best part of it.
very well said. Yeah, very well said, Debi. So, in the interest of the time, do you want to summarize any conclusion comments from your side, Debi?
Well, I just say that, look, I think this is something that I have discovered about myself. And I think being a coach is definitely helpful. Every leader should actually know the tenets of coaching and should develop a coaching mindset. Even that much is very helpful to create your career as an impactful leader.
Great. Fantastic, Debi. I think that was very nice talking to you. A lot of insights about coaching, leader as a coaching, and the need for change in coaching in a mindset. Right,
Sure,
much deeper. That's the
sure,
need for the day.
sure.
Nice talking to you, Debi. Right,
Thank
and we
you.
will take some other time. Thank you
Sure.
very much.
Thank you. Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Thank you.